Welcome to the Affluent CEO Show, the premier space where high-achieving women elevate their businesses with wealth, sovereignty, and ease. Your host, Juliana Francie, is a world-class conscious business strategist, transformational coach, and best-selling author of Unbecoming You. She specializes in helping visionary women break free from stagnation, amplify their influence, and achieve effortless success through soul-aligned strategy. Beyond entrepreneurship, Juliana is on a mission to eradicate gender-based violence and poverty, empowering women to step into their highest potential. It's time to move beyond hustle culture and embrace authentic leadership, high-value positioning, and the mastery of both energy and strategy. Join our elite circle of sovereign female entrepreneurs as they unlock the codes to quantum scaling, financial freedom, and unapologetic success. Your next level breakthrough starts now.
Hi, welcome back again. This is Juliana from the Affluent CEO Podcast Show. Today I have Sjeanne Cawdry from Center of Liberation. We have a very, very exciting topic today. My favorite topic of all, if I had to pick. I know I have a lot of different guest speaker in this show, but it's very unique what we have today. I think it's very much aligned of what I've been advocating to for women is really owning your voice, your place in the world. But Sjeanne will expand how that does translate to our wealth. Welcome, Sjeanne. The floor is yours.
Juliana, so great to be here, and thank you for you and the work you're doing, and then of course to your audience, your entrepreneurs and female entrepreneurs out in the world just doing great things. And so maybe a little bit of a brief introduction to myself. First of all, I have a curious spelling, Sjeanne, and so I'm Sjeanne Cawdry from Center of Liberation. I'm a business advisor and quantum reinvention strategist. And so what that means is that I absolutely adore and love working with high-level entrepreneurs, visionaries, and I call them movement builders. And by movement builders, I mean those individuals as well as business owners who are getting out in the world and doing unique things. And I like to support them in really harnessing the power and the intersection of the power of AI. Very excitingly, to your point, the wealth transfer, and there's a huge women's wealth transfer that is taking place from now to over the next decade. And I think it's not been spoken about enough, and I'm deeply passionate about it. So we're going to delve into that. How do you really position yourself? What does it mean? How are things changing? And then finally, the rise in consciousness. And so when I work with my clients, we bring in, how do you harness the power of your consciousness to really create strategies to quantum leap and set yourself up into what I call a category of one leadership? Because it's no longer enough for us to be hustling and proving and bustling and be in this like do, rush. There is a different way to do this. There is a quantum way to do this. There's an energetic way to do this. And we need to marry that with very practical, on the ground MBA skills.
Yeah.
So I kind of harness the idea of your practical skills, your inner MBA, the practical MBA, and then the spiritual MBA in order to really set yourselves up for wealth, for business success, for future sustainability.
Yeah, definitely. So I guess maybe in that point, for some of us,
yes,
the term of working and achieving quantum success without hustling and grinding seems still very up there in the blue sky. It's like you would love to believe it. It's the perfect ideal answer, but it's also for someone that has been, and including myself, I have I'm an ex-work alcoholic from the corporate world. You know how it works.
Yeah.
It is very, very difficult sometimes to let that go. So can you expand a bit more?
And so happy with that question. And Juliana, I can appreciate that. And maybe just to take a step back before I go into answering that, just my own context. So I come from South Africa originally. I'm now living in the United States, and that was a year and a half ago that I moved here with my wife. And so that's at the age of 50 then. I'm not exactly spring chicken. I come from corporate banking in South Africa, having spent over a decade in that industry at one of the very niche banks on the continent of Africa. So very, very fortunate to be a corporate leader in that space. And so I'm very familiar, to your point, with the hustle and grind and grustle, and just sort of really grinding away. And, always in that space, I was always reinventing. I've been through multiple reinventions in my life, from professional sports to personal training gyms to corporate and investment banking, having no banking experience in that space at the age of 38, and now living on a new continent and establishing myself and my identity here and business. And so what I've learned along the way, and being a deeply spiritually orientated person, and have been for the last sort of 25 years, I make the distinction, which answers your question in my view, in my perspective, in the distinction of we're in what is now available to us, and it's coming online as I call new spiritual technology that is now available. And so we've moved from what I describe as manifestation 1.0. So many of you would be familiar with The Secret, and that was roughly where I got involved 25 years ago. We then went into manifestation 2.0. And I describe this as what most people are doing now. So mindset and emotional set. But the thing with manifestation 2.0 is that people are still creating from what I call a seed energy of lack and scarcity. I'm going to unpack that a little bit to describe what is happening in that space, and it will make more sense. But let me just quickly capture what I'm now bringing to the forefront is manifestation 3.0, and that is the ability to quantum architect your solutions from a place of higher order energy and frequency. And so I'm going to go back to manifestation 2.0 and then loop it back in. I'll make the link into what's different. So manifestation 2.0 is, if you think about it, we come historically, especially as women, from a disadvantaged space, right? And we're all on this journey, obviously, just to equalize. This is not about getting rid of males or dominating males, whatever. It's about equalizing the masculine and feminine on the continent. And, never before have we been in this place, and that ties into the woman wealth transfer as well, where we're in a place where we can up level in terms of wealth. We're owning our space, we're owning our voice, we're having to own our authority. We haven't been here before. And we'll talk about the women's wealth transfer in a second. But so what have we been creating from? If you think about it, we've been creating from an energy of like, I need to, I have to, I want to, I should. Now, if you just even take those phrases, that contains a seed energy of scarcity and lack. And we can use, and many manifestation sort of practitioners will say, like, what do you want? What do you want? Well, if you want something from a place of I want it because I don't have it, that's lack. And if you want something because you have it, but what you have you don't want, that's lack. So let's say you have debt and now you want freedom. That's an energy of lack. Now let's layer in. And so when we're manifesting from that place, it means what I describe the seed energy, the very inceptive energy, your energy signature, the energy blueprint when you're going into those practices of mindset or whatever your process is. Imagine you seeded it with an energy of lack. The energy is so important because that which you create and draw to you, and the other distinguishing factor here is we attract. So we're actually attracting from I want. It's not what I describe in manifestation 3.0 and quantum architecting affinity. In other words, when I attract because I want, it's still holding a little bit of control and a little bit of like ownership as opposed to affinity-based creating, where these two places, people or services, are orientated towards each other and there's this natural resonance. Then the exchange is easier. So if there is seed energy, it means that whatever you attract back to you, it contains the energy and the experience of lack. And even if you don't immediately, let's take money, for example, and I've had quite a journey with money. And even though I am wealthy, I would describe myself as wealthy, I've had an interesting journey with money over the last sort of 2 or 3 years. And I think quite a few people do. But let's say I created from that mindset. The money came or the services came, whatever, but because it was incepted from which I didn't know at the time, where, like I say, this is new technology now coming in, and which I understand in a different way, then that which I created with lack must be what I call repurposed at some point, because actually what I'm trying to do is I'm taking light from somewhere else because there was lack in me. And so I try and fill myself up from something else outside of myself because I'm not in a place of wholeness. And so at some point, that which I attracted to me must go so that I can still heal what is lacking in me. And so you might be scammed, or you receive money, and then a year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, suddenly you have all sorts of money things, like money goes, or you scammed, or you got robbed or something. That's the repurposing, so that the next time you create, you're not creating to take something from someone because it's lacking in you. You are creating from a place of wholeness. And so I can see you want to ask a question. So I'm going to just tie it into the manifestation 3.0, and then I'm going to hand over to you. Manifestation 3.0, if you are manifesting from a place of I get to, I choose to, I love to, even those three distinctions are higher frequency. So you're creating that even if I don't have it, I'm still whole and complete. I don't have to, should, need. I'm whole and complete, irrespective of, I just get to play in the space. I just love to create. I love to go to work in the mornings. You're going to create with a different seed energy. And so then there's sustainability of the receivership and of the miracle that transpires.
It's because when you were talking about all this energy on the manifestation 3.0, one of the things that I identify with my own journey that led me to write the book, it's the feeling of not good enough, which many of us train this way. So I wonder, as what you explained with the energy of lacking, is that the base and the driver, it was the seeking of the validation of that I am good enough. And we think that we want money, or we want success, or we want partner, we want sexy body, but it's still coming back again to that, so that I'm good enough. What do you think?
I love what you're saying. And I would agree with that. I hold a similar, and I think there's various things in that. So my mission behind what I do is to dismantle poverty consciousness, to dismantle the scarcity consciousness we are housed to, and to really activate and to be a catalyst for a consciousness of abundance and wealth consciousness, and reciprocal, what I call reciprocal generosity and abundance, and bringing that into the world. So what do I mean by that? And I adore, in fact, what you're articulating, because at the heart of poverty consciousness and at the heart of scarcity thinking, and we will be confronted through the revolution of AI that we're seeing, but at the heart of it is the poverty consciousness that we have within ourselves, the value gap. So what is going to happen, and what is happening, and what you're alluding to when we've got I'm not good enough, or I don't value the skills, I don't value myself, I don't value what I've got, I don't value the hustle, the proving, the chasing, is because we're not sitting in ourselves and saying, "Sheesh, I am freaking magnificent and incredible. I've been given these skills, both whether we want to call it our spiritual skills, our spiritual superpowers, our way of thinking, our way of being in the world, our leadership skills, the practical skills. I've been given my life experience. I've been given the power of being this human being, the power of my consciousness to create." What a gift in terms of what I call your unique profitability space. Like when you can really articulate that, and I think people really struggle to, because I don't value who I am. I'm not good enough. Who I am is not enough. I'm not important. I'm like, my existence doesn't matter. I'm not wanted. So all those stories that we carry in, and then you can layer over that, like I'm female, and we are, typically we've been subjugated. So we inherently have this one under, like, I'm so grateful for this position. I'm so grateful they paid me. I'm so grateful. So I call it the one under positioning, all in play, and that's the seed energy. And so if we're trying to create in our vessel, and you can say like you might be a bucket or your vessel of consciousness, as I call it, which is your human, the way you think, your identity, the way you think, the way you believe, you behave, your beliefs, the way you trust yourself, the conviction and faith that you have in self and other and the universe. If that's got holes in it like a bucket, because the heart of it, I don't value myself, therein sits your poverty consciousness. So it doesn't matter what you receive in monetary, in relationship, in friendships, it's never enough. So it's gonna come in, it's gonna go out, it's gonna come in, and you're gonna be in like, this month you have, this month you don't. This year you have, this year you don't. Why? Because the gap is inside. The poverty consciousness starts there in the vessel.
And it's coming back, I think, to the principle of the spirituality that no one really talks about. Is the world is your mirror, the mirror of what's going on to the inner world, right? So if we go back to what you said in Manifestation 3.0, if we're coming from the inner state of the wholeness, that I am already abundance, that I value myself, I'm worthy enough, it doesn't mean we don't take action, but we drop the need of chasing, and things would unfold in the miraculous way how it should be.
Beautiful. And that is really, I work with the quantum reinvention framework and methodology, and I'm sure you do as well. And one of the core or some kind of, I'm sure you've got frameworks and methodologies that you utilize in your practice. And at the heart of that, the starting point is alignment. So when I talk about, being a business advisor and a quantum reinvention strategist and looking at strategies that, like I said in the beginning, line up, first of all, with the truth and the power of you. And first and foremost, like purpose and vocation, and those are two slightly different things. But we have to get to before you can line up with with your unique, like I say, profitability space. That says you are superior and you are distinct because of these nuances. And it's only going to be nuances because we will be what I describe as contested. We will do certain things equally as well. And if we're not doing them as well, because we're missing a little bit or we're not paying attention to the detail, do that really well. But then there is always going to be that rare, that superior, and that distinct, both practical ways that you do things, as well as energetic ways that you do things. And when you are able to articulate that, which very few people can, even whether you're male or female, because we've dispersed ourselves and we've chased things and we've got onto other people's playing fields, and we disregard and we discount our own amazingness.
Yeah.
So it becomes difficult to talk from a place of and source of truth. So I know you do a lot of work in voice and in negotiating. But when we're negotiating from the heart of who we are, from the essence of who we are, an alignment of who we are, we stop wanting to play on other people's playing fields. That alignment comes into place. You will receive the ideas, you will receive the intelligence. And so as part of my work, I say this is a place where hard work is no longer the way to get ahead in the world, to stand out. No, this is around precision. It's about relentlessly reinventing in alignment with who you are, because you're always evolving. So your reinvention always needs to evolve, and humanity is evolving, and so is the planet. And then, of course, it's about saying, okay, there's precision, there's reinvention. And then there's the alignment. Those are the three core constructs, and you've got to sit that on top of self-worth and get really clear on what is yours to own. What is yours to own? Then you look at the external, right? So the world is changing. We've got AI, we've got a women's wealth transfer. Let me understand these trends. Let me understand how to receive the ideas that are aligned with who I am. How do I learn to work with the quantum to bring the full strategy into place? Because when you receive an idea, I'll just share with you, when you receive an idea from the universe, from wherever you've received it, that idea contains all the information about the pricing, about the delivery, about the channels, about who it's for, about which channels to communicate it through. It holds all that information. And so learning how to architect that solution And then only going to, okay, practically, I need a market like this. I'm going to write up this. Here's the practical strategy to wrap around it and put the practical MBA around that, and then take it into the world. Now you're aligned with higher self, with quantum source intelligence, and human self. And that is effortless. You may have challenges along the way. Challenges, why? Because I'm stepping out into authority, and that's new for me. Owning my power, that's new. I'm holding more wealth, that's new for me. So those adjustments and up levels happen. But the challenge of hustle and chasing, and I want to call it confusion and misclarity, that is because you're looking outside of yourself and you're not looking at what is rare to you, and how do you actually harness all of these pieces and pull them together in a way that brings ease and simplicity.
Wow, that is like, just the music to my ear, because it's exactly what I'm preaching. We coming from that place of trust, surrender, and authority. It's how we create, instead of the scarcity. What if, all these questions. What if I don't have enough? What if I'm not good enough? All these what if that drive us, and it's like, it's heavy energy. So to give us a bit more about I guess you gave us a bit of the framework of the reinvention. It's very, very similar. I actually have a very similar framework. Not exactly the same name, but I like how you say reinvent. I call it redefine yourself. Strip off all your label and redefine who you are. Now, what I notice when I work with the clients with this, you know what the first fear that comes up is they so scared of losing their identity that define who they are at the moment. How do you have a specific technique and strategy? Because this is where I believe as female entrepreneur, we then face that, the burnout, the imposter syndrome, and people pleasing. It's because we're actually so scared to let go the self identity, our self-concept is another word that we use, is how we look ourselves, that lens, saying I'm a mother, I'm an entrepreneur, I am this, even the habit, I'm a morning person, I'm night owl. It feels so scary to let that go. It's like it's almost like a grief at one stage, right? So what's your tips and trick on this one?
I love this question, especially since I recently, like I said, moved country, and that was leaving behind corporate career. And I really enjoyed it. So it wasn't like I hated my job. I'm very happy to be here with, my wife's got a family here, and so it's closer to her family and that kind of stuff, and great it's invigorating for my soul as well. So it's really beautiful. But to talk to that, so, I think, and I want to make the distinction here between Phoenix Rising and Quantum Phoenix Rising. And let's talk for a moment. And in this, I'll bring in the distinguishment in those elements. I'm going to just layer in the women's wealth transfer, because I think your viewers and listeners will be very interested in that. And then I'm going to then get specifically answer your question around the identity shift. So for me, it was like collapsing identities, and I deliberately did this. So in my move, I deliberately, and I'm not suggesting this for everyone, but I suspect most people, because you're either in a Phoenix Rising or you're Quantum Phoenix Rising. A Phoenix Rising, and there'll be one or two areas of your life which, and this partly answers your question, you are at a psychological, mental, and emotional place and spiritual place where you're ready to release that pattern or program. And it was a survival and coping strategy that you put in place at a young age that is now ready to be released, so that I'm going to talk about pivots. And this is part of the process. So if you can just track this for a minute, and your viewers can just track this. When we go through an identity change and you've got one or two areas in your life, there's a relationship, or you're in corporate, you want to be an entrepreneur, you're stuck at an income ceiling, whatever the pain point is or the problem, or you're tired of the hustle and the chase, or you don't believe in yourself, there are pivots that need to take place in the identity shift. There's a soul pivot, there's an ego pivot, there's a success pivot, and a financial pivot, and there may be more. So that would be unpacked as part of the process to identify where the pivots need to take place. So that would be like part of the process. It's the pivoting.
Yes.
So you're challenged then with something that's not working in your life in order to start the release process, right? A quantum Phoenix rising, and that requires in the Phoenix rising, it's like, oh my God, I'm scared, I want to hold on to the identity. And it's about defining the identity of the new self. And so in the process that I work with, we do all of that work, and I'm conscious of time. In a quantum Phoenix rising, what does that mean? It means that you're going to, like I did, I had multiple areas that I collapsed. I collapsed a location. I collapsed my career in terms of being in a formal corporate structure. I didn't collapse my friends, but I'm having to rebuild friendships here because my friends are always, we went from one, let's say, currency in South African rands to dollar. I drive on the other side of the road. I had to redo. So I collapsed timelines across multiple areas of my life all at once. Now, some of you may be experiencing that. It's not a punishment. It just means that it's kind of like an advanced soul move. And then if you layer on the idea of, and you could have and that's why I say the movement builders, you're a movement builder. It's like time to make a movement. And so the universe knows that you're capable of handling all those things. It's not pleasant, but you can be supported through it. And those also require bigger pivots. It's why, because there's a version of your soul, when you talk about the identity, that is ready to, I want to call incarnate. I know that we've incarnated already, but now the next evolution of your soul is now ready to incarnate. With that evolution of your soul and that incarnation, it can only happen when you create space and when you up-level your human identity that can almost catch up with the soul identity, and then these merge. And so we have to let go of the way I thought, or what I believed about myself, or what my ego wanted, or what success means to me now, or what my financial wealth is. And so there is a woman's wealth transfer taking place right now. It's incepted. It's going to play out differently in different countries and that kind of stuff. And that's just simply an economic perspective. And so what does that mean? It means that there is roughly about a 30 trillion transfer of wealth, where for the first time over the next decade, women will have larger personal incomes than males. This is the natural process of equalizing. And then with more wealth means that there's more power, there's more decision making. And when I say power, women operate differently in the world. So we think differently, we operate differently, we have a different decision making process, we spend money differently, we consume differently. So there's all sorts of things that are going to start transpiring. But importantly, let's take it down to the individual level. If you're not used to holding more wealth and creating the container and the vessel and the identity to hold more wealth, it is going to go. It will come and then it will go. And we generally want sustainable wealth, because most of us want this philanthropic, do better in the world, and we've got these visions and etc. and movements. And so we want to sustain and grow wealth. And so fortunately, coming from banking, I've got the practical knowledge and then this kind of energetic knowledge and spiritual knowledge that goes with it to help that process. At the same time, that means look at our executive tables, look at the corporate tables, look at entrepreneurs. If you have more wealth, you typically right now have more power. If you're not used to articulating, standing, taking a stand for something, taking a stand because it's aligned with who you are, communicating, negotiating, having bigger and more important conversations. Again, we can't sustain, the vessel is not built to then sustain the miracle or the growth or the enjoyment of the wealth and the power and the influence and the authority. And so it's a place of stepping high tide, low tide, in, out. And so there's a whole lot of things that play out. And so how do we equip women, number one, for their vessels to hold more authority and wealth? Then how do we look at the businesses? And this is where, I work on, obviously, on the consciousness and harvesting and harnessing the power of your quantum intelligence and beingness. But then there's practicalities. Well, what does that mean for your business? Women spend differently. They have different interests. So there's various industries that are going to be the recipients of these things. There's also another wealth transfer, and the other wealth transfer is that, the elder population is becoming smaller and smaller, and so there's inheritances, there's a transfer of that wealth that's going into your younger population, and they've got different things that they spend on, that they're involved in. So, I'm a futurist, I'm a forward thinker, so I work with individuals in terms of practical strategies and practical profitability pools to set you up for success in what you do. And so that's why I look at success. But when you're looking at, then, to your point about the identity, you will stay stuck. You will stay at the income ceilings. You'll stay at the hustle. You will stay in the confusion. You will stay where you are unless you are willing to bring in bravery, courage in order to up level and upgrade your human identity to match the soul identity that's ready to come in when those two worlds meet. Like I said, the idea, the vision that you're getting, the idea of yourself on center stage, your idea of yourself speaking in bigger audiences, all of those things all exist. Your soul is indicating to you, hey, there's something else for you. Hey, pay attention. And you let go slowly. I mean, you support women, so it's a process of, let's do it slowly. There's transition plans. There's all sorts of things that I build out with my clients in a way that works for them, and that we create together. So I hope that answers your question. I went on a bit of a rant there.
Oh no, I love that. And same, I know we kind of a bit over time, but I love the conversations, and it's a topic that I'm passionate as well, and I'm really big advocate on this, because my mission is also to eradicate the violence against women through financial empowerment. And I think not many, we said that sex and money is a taboo thing to talk about, which is true. And I think, but unless we actually acknowledge and claim that money gives us that power, and power is good, because it's up to you how you're using it. If you're using it for good reason, it will be good reason. But going back just one step, I have this about the Phoenix Rising, and it's interesting because I also recently going through very similar what you described as the quantum Phoenix Rising, where and I could feel it. I could literally feel it. My guide was saying, you are shifting timeline, and it just feel like it can feel a bit overwhelming, because it gets you, sometimes you unprepared, because you know it's coming, but you don't know how it plays out in your reality, right? And I had to take some very, very bold, courageous action, like what you said, and everyone looking around like, wow, what did you just do? But I like to see your perspective on this one.
Yes.
The Phoenix Rising, sometimes what I learned also, universe give you that gentle nudge, okay? What you call it, the soul calling, and goes, hey, this is the new timeline open up for you. You step forward, and we often disregard when it's a gentle nudge. And then I like to use this metaphor, the universe throwing a pebble, a rock, like, let's get you moving. Okay, I was still like, nah, it's too much for me. I'm not ready for this. Maybe later I'll put it on the shelf first for now. Now you get to the last stage where you're facing the brick wall. Boom.
Exactly what happens.
Now, that's when people think they facing the personal crisis, and through that crisis is your Phoenix Rising. But what I'm interested to hear from you is, how do we intentionally evolve without facing the Phoenix Rising? There's so many, the dark night of the soul, the death of the shaman, all these terms, which can be quite painful. But I know there is a trick, and I can hear I'm sure you have this trick. It's a secret, I call it, that we can just shift, and it's more effortless, it's more flow, and we hold more, like what you said. We are the container. Our energetic is a container. How can we just be expansive and grow more without pushing ourselves to that brick wall?
Yeah, so I love that question. You know, there's a secret in there, and yes, it's super simple, and it's really just, it starts with awareness. And I'll articulate it now for you. And I just want to mention, let's say, for example, like some things are, when we look at the quantum phoenix rising,
Yes.
sometimes they, like, I got married, and so my wife is from here, and so there's this, okay, I'm going to go through something, and then I'm going to deliberately choose it. So there was an intention behind the mechanism through which I chose to do it, where I didn't jump into corporate straight away, and I didn't hide from it. I wanted to allow my being to come through, and so that brought unintentional things with it, to your point, that I wasn't ready for. But at the same time, I did say yes to the journey. And then to your point, there are those where you hit the brick wall, it's taken from you, or you have the big loss. And then it's incepted. And I completely agree with you that it doesn't have to be like that. And so my simple answer to that is, when you start, there's various phases and prompts that will happen. The first kind of thing is, and I'll tell you where I've done it really well, is that about 2 years prior to moving, I'm a runner as well, so I'd go for a run, and I knew that a move was on the cards, and I just got a voice. The intuition was like, sell the house. And I'm like, huh, where did you come from? Got back from a run one day, and out of the blue, I'm like, huh, that's interesting. Didn't really pay attention to it. And then it came again, another run. At the end of the run, it was like, and it was about 2 or 3 weeks later, it was like, sell the house. And I was like, okay. And I just immediately, I got inside, I contacted a friend of mine, and it took a process, and then sold. It was super easy. Moved into the same complex, just rented. And then before we moved, and I didn't understand it, but I just followed. I did it really well. It was interesting that as we were wrapping up finally to move, like the market like crashed in South Africa. And so I'd got out at a great time. And so that's the first thing. The first prompt is you're going to hear a little voice. It's going to be subtle. To your point, what are you, like, who and where's it from? For me, it bubbles up from my heart. Like, if you're brave enough to act on it in the early stages, you don't know why, but your heart has the more intelligence. It's got a brain. It knows what's coming. It's prompting you. It's going to go pretty, the pain wasn't packing up the house, and, but I didn't know that the market was going to crash, and my heart knew it. So there's always going to be some loss in change, right? And in the reinventions. So first thing, you want the simplest. Listen to the voice when it's first incepted. It will get louder. When you don't listen to it, then there's going to be places of dissatisfaction. So the second prompt you can look for is, there's discontentment or dissatisfaction with something. This could be in your career. This could be in a relationship. This could be in you wanting the promotion. This could be you know that you should be on a bigger stage. There's dissatisfaction and unfulfillment in the context of how I am presenting in the world. Like, I know I'm meant for more. And so that dissatisfaction will start to show up in terms of, you won't get the promotion when you have more experience. When you look at yourself as an entrepreneur, and there's people who with less experience than you who are like shooting the lights out, but they're more confident and they're getting all the gigs and they're signing up clients left, right, and you're like, or their business is flourishing, you go, I've got more experience, whatever, and there's this but it's just because you're not owning your authority, etc. So and that gets more and more painful. Then there's going to be like, I want my head in the sand. I don't want to look at AI. I don't really want to understand it. I hear about the wealth transfer, but I'm not really going to act on it, etc. Let me tell you, AI is coming, and it's already here, and it's going to make people confront the value gap and the poverty consciousness inside, and it's going to be too late. Like, if you're listening to this conversation, it's like one of those prompts, because I'm disseminating this information to you of like, guys, have a look at AI. Because we're going to move, for example, I'm just going to use this as an example, we're going to move from what we call scarce intelligence, like this is the intelligence that I get paid for, this is the intelligence that a lot of entrepreneurs are currently getting paid for in their businesses, whatever the business is. We are moving into a paradigm of abundant intelligence. That means that we have all the intelligence of all of humans accessible. Now what am I going to be paid for? And it's coming, and it's in process, and it's happening now. And this is not fear. This is not fear-based. This is like Please be aware. And so now what am I going to be paid for? And that's why you getting really clear, and entrepreneurs getting really clear on their rare, their superior, their distinct profitability spaces from a personal perspective, and then you wrap that into a business perspective and you take that to market to offer solutions, you're setting yourself up for future-proofing your business, growing your business, expanding your business, and etc. And so when we see these things coming, but we want to head in the sand, boom, you're now unemployed. Boom, you're now retrenched. Boom. Shoot, I wish I'd gone online 2 years ago. Shoot, I wish I'd made this change. I was being prompted. Now it's painful, and you're playing catch up, and you're in the reactive. So I'd say that's how you can move fluidly when you're given the gentle prompts are the ones to act on. By the time you're acting on the big ones, you've moved a bit. It's okay, act on them. Wherever you are right now, you want to act on them. So that would be my...
Thank you. Thank you so much for all your wisdom. Now just one thing. If you could give one final message to all our listeners, to the female entrepreneur, what would that be?
That's such a great question. So I want to just give it a second and see what comes through. We truly are living in a remarkable, remarkable period in our history. There is nothing to fear. There is only courage to be stepped into. You hold all the wisdom and intelligence inside yourself, and you do not have to do this on your own. This is an exciting time. This is a beautiful time to be alive. Surround yourself with the people who love you and the communities who love you, and with the support that can help you see the things that you can't see, so that you can build and flourish and become abundant and be that spirit of generosity in the world, and to fulfill all of your dreams, your hopes, and the things that you are here to cherish and enjoy on this planet.
Thank you. What a beautiful and empowering message. I will have your social media handle on the podcast note below, so everyone can find you. And let's keep continue. I believe it's the woman era for women to rise up, because every one of us, when we rise up, we give permission and validation to every other woman. That's what it is.
Absolutely. And when one rises, we all help each other rise. And so the idea of generosity is so critical. And Juliana, you're doing such phenomenal work. To all the entrepreneurs and the humans out there, like, I just love you, I adore you, and I see you and appreciate so much, Juliana, the work that you're doing. And just really hold yourselves in reverence. Hold yourself, Juliana, and to all the entrepreneurs and everyone out there doing the big work. If you can hold yourself in reverence and see just how powerful, magnificent, and how courageous you are, that is going to make a huge difference as well. So I'm so excited for everybody.
Thank you.
Amazing.
That's a wrap for today's episode of the Affluent CEO Show. We hope this conversation sparked new insights and inspired you to step deeper into your soul-led success. If this episode resonated, let's keep the momentum going. Screenshot, share on Instagram, and tag @JulianaFrancie. She'd love to hear your biggest takeaway. Send a DM and we'll personally thank you with a special gift. For free resources, exclusive trainings, and high-level mentorship, check the show notes. You weren't made to play small. You're here to build a legacy. Until next time, keep creating a life that sets your soul on fire.